Right, good evening one and all. Tonight I thought I'd do something a little bit different. Obviously we've been on lockdown for quite a long time now, which basically means that I'm completely ill prepared for going fishing. Now, the ticket that I've been waiting on has finally just opened up, so I'm in a case of needing to get everything ready so I can start fishing. Basically the water is Fen Drayton. I'm looking at fishing it pretty much exclusively, although I dare say there'll be a few flits and quick jump offs onto other waters if it looks good for them. But yeah, so basically I'm starting on getting my kit ready and thought I'd sort of show you how I'll get about it really. First things first, you'll know this is a rig bin. It's pretty bloody useless as a rig bin to me because I hardly ever use it. Any rigs that I've got in here are just a tangled mass. As you can see, I've got bobbins in here, I've got my other bobbins in here, I've got the odd rig tangled in a mess down the bottom here. So yeah, things are a bit of a mess in there. So we'll be working on that, trying to get that all together and organised as we go through the evening. But the whole idea for this video is to show that you know, people keep on bigging me up or shit online, and to be perfectly honest with you, the only thing that's different between me and them isn't the super rigs I use, it isn't anything like that. It's simply about a willingness to put myself in a situation and try and get myself out of it with waters that I fish. I've said it before, a lot of the waters I've fished are beyond my capabilities in reality. So looking at it from my perspective, I put myself in the situation of having to fish, or I am fishing these waters, and the whole idea is try and catch a few fish on the way. So I'm just sorting out my little bits and bobs here. I've got my tackle box here, which has seen better days. Well, that's about all I'll ever carry. I carry this, my rig thingy, but as I say, that mostly holds bobbins. This carries my leads and assorted other bits and bobs, which I'll go through as I need to, as I get to it. And this is just spare hook links and odds and sods as well. So I'll work my way through them anyway. The basic of tonight's video is pretty much to show that I'm not tying up super rigs for a super hard water. It's just another water, and it's just more carp, it's just different carp. And I don't look at it as a hard water because the carp are super intelligent. It's a hard water just simply because there aren't many carp in there. So my approach is always the same. I've never come across a riggy carp, not in 42 years, 43 years. I've never come across such a thing as a riggy carp, and I doubt I ever will. So my approach is pretty much the same all the way along. So I hope this helps you guys out and makes you take a step back from the ultra cult world of rigs, which, if I'm honest, is completely unnecessary anyway. Okay, so I'll crack on with the first rig and I'll explain it as I'm going through. Right, the first thing I'll look into is my little tackle box. In here you'll see that I've got nothing out of the ordinary. Little bit of Christ and Drop'em for the hook links, dirty stripper, some crystal, some deck drop, some tungsten putty, a few beads and bits and bobs in here, and I've got my all my combat tackle hooks and bits and bobs down here, still in their packets. Over here I have my oddities, like hair rig stops for crays. I don't know what half of this stuff is, shrink tube. Yeah, all sorts of bits and bobs anyways. O-rings, lots of O-rings. I get through a lot of O-rings because of the type of rig I use, which was a running rotten bottom rig. Quick link, more O-rings and some bait screws. That's about it really. I mean, everything else is your bog standard. Oh yeah, I'll also have about 200 paper clips in there. So that's also for my rotten bottom rigs. So nothing really untoward, nothing special. You know, I don't tend to stockpile the latest and greatest. This shrink tube, for instance, I think I've had that for, I bought a packet in, it's got to have been about 2009, I'm guessing, and I've still got 3.5 lengths of that left. These were bought, Christ, when did I buy them? Bought a packet of them cray stops. It's got to have been when I was on Broadwater, so I'm guessing it was about 2007. So yeah, I don't hold a lot of extra gear. Some people carry around absolutely everything as far as the gear goes. I'll tend to carry around old stuff that I haven't got through yet, and that's about it. So that's my rig box anyways, my tackle box. The only thing I've got on here that's that's special at all is a bit of chestnut cotton. Yeah, I use that for all my hair rigs. This nice spool here has been going since about 2006, I think. I got this one. 60 metres, about £1.50. That's every hair rig I'll ever need. So yeah, that's about as special as it gets. Oh, found a mouldy boilie result. Everything else bog standard, nothing out of the ordinary, just bog standard tackle that everyone's got in their tackle box, and that's what I work with day and night. Don't care what water it is, that's what I work with. Right, let's start at the start, and I'm going to do what is my basic bottom rig, and I'll take just about anywhere. I'm confident enough to fish it on every single lake that I fish, with no qualms at all, to be honest. So all I'll need here is, I've got size 8 curved shank hooks from the Combat range, some deck drop, or you know, whatever your favourite braid is, some rubbers, and my cotton. Okay, that's it. I'm not putting anything else on it, except for once I've finished I will be putting a little bit of Drop-'em on it from Christen. I just find that's a brilliant braid sinking material. So start, let's get ourselves out a hook. Hopefully this also shows you that I'm not on some strange experimental product that Stuart's pumping out through Cherry, and he wants me to check out. I'm on nothing special. I'm on exactly the same as you can get in the shops, yeah? Or should I say straight from what Stuart sells. So what he does on the internet is exactly what I use. I don't use anything special except for cotton. So, but everything here you can get in the shops. I'm not some super test bloke. I don't run tests for tackle companies or anything like that anymore. I use what everyone else uses. So right, let's start off with a hair rig. Right, I've got cotton. You can get that out of a haberdasher's, yeah. get hold of that, tie a nice loop in it. Yeah, that's your starting point. Okay, I would normally make that loop a tiny little bit smaller. In fact, I'm going to, just simply because I don't like big loops. It doesn't really affect the rig in any way, manner or form. It just affects my mentality, I'm afraid. So I'll tie that a bit smaller. This is what's good about getting older, see, you really struggle to see little loops. So I'm now going to be sitting here farting around trying to get that loop tied nice and small, or small enough, when I could have just done with a big one and be done with it, so to speak. Good thing about cotton is every time you need to cut it or break it or whatever, you just use your teeth. Okay, right, now I will need it cut because I need a nice decent end on it, and this is a bit frayed up this end, so there we go. Right, now I'm going to pass that through the eye, and this is how I tie my hair rigs. Through the eye, and I pull it down until I can feel the loop at the back here, just touch my fingers. Okay, now I'll take another grip on it and push some of that cotton through. Now at this point I'll be guessing roughly how long I want the hair rig. I could put a bait on there, which would make life a little bit easier, but not massively. Okay, that's about the length I want this hair rig for a single bait. Hope you can see that on the screen there. So for a single bait, that's where I want it. Considering I use 15mm baits, that's roughly the size of my bait there that I'm covering. So you can see the gap that's between my bait and my hook. Okay, so now I've got that roughly right, I want to, and this is my own technique, so I wouldn't necessarily bother using this. It's just, I'll be honest with you, it's a bit of a pain in the butt to tie, but I've been doing it for many years, so I kind of stick with it. All I've done there is pulled the hair down a fraction to create a little loop next to my finger. Okay, now I'm just holding that loop open and getting hold of this one. Always remember that you want to go, if you've got the opening of the eye on that side, yeah, you want to go around this way first. Okay, so like that. There are much easier ways to do this, there really are. But as I say, I've just been doing it for so long now, I'm kind of stubborn. I'll go around 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then where I've got that loop held open, I'll go through that loop. Just twist it a bit, that's better. Go through that loop. And pull it down. Now, I'll pull out a fraction, not too much. It's sort of closed up the loop, but it hasn't completely closed it. But I'll wiggle the cotton so it's all tight down by the eye, and then I'll do the last pull on there. Okay, and that gives me my hair rig. Okay. So you can see how much of a gap I've got there. That's going to be the gap between my bait and my hook. Yeah. As I say, 15mm baits is what I use pretty much all the time. I might go down to a 12mm every so often, but that's a rarity. I'd rather use 12mm to get fish feeding, to get them grubbing around a bit more, and you still use a 15mm as my hook bait. Right, so that's stage 1. My hair rig is on my hook. Stage 2 is my hook link. So I know roughly how long I like these. Having fished the Fen before, I know that it's it's got its silt areas, but I as a rule I fish on the first knockings of gravel. So that means that basically I pull it out of the silt. I'll pull a marker float out of the silt, yeah, until I get the first knocks on the rod tip. Then I'll let the marker float up so I know exactly where it is. I'll then bait that area, and when I'm going to cast my rod, I'll do so without a rig on to start with. I'll cast it out past the marker float, again pull it back until I'm hitting the first knockings, so I'll get the little juddering on the rod tip, and then I clip up to that with a 45-degree rod, so that basically as it hits the bottom, yeah, you'll always get a little bit of slack because of the bow that's in your line. So I know that at that point I should be on the first knockings of gravel, and I'll fish there quite happily without having to worry about silt or gravel being a problem. Okay, now all I'll do is I'll tie this on with a grinner. For those that don't know a grinner, just pass it through the eye once or twice. This is I think they call this a half grinner because I've only passed it through once. Create a loop in it, which is the tag end coming round and onto itself again. Yeah. The bigger this loop is, strangely enough, the easier it is to tie this knot, because you want to be able to get your fingers through and pull the tag in through. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times through, pull it down, don't fully tighten it yet, you're just getting it roughly in line, wet it. Always wet your knot, because there's a lot of damage done to your line if you should tighten it without wetting it, because it basically heats up because of friction. Okay, pulled that down to the eye, and now I'll start pulling the knot actually tight. That means I'll pull on the tag end, and then I'll pull the knot down to the eye again, holding onto the hook link end. So tag end, pull, and then hold the knot and hold the main hook link and push it down to the eye again. Okay, that's how you can get that one super tight. You can trim off the tag end now. And that's the basic rig, done and dusted. Now I know I want to set the hook length, so I'll move along to where I want the loop, check that's right, because I know how long I want it, because I'll be on the same old, and just tie a figure of 8 loop knot in the end there. Don't want it too big again. Pull it down nice and tight. Make sure everything's tight as it can be. Trim the tag end. Last job. I hate these packets. Is it just me? I can never get into them. One rubber for the use of. And now for the only thing that I haven't actually sorted out to do the job, which is my splicing needle. Lucky it's camo and it completely matches the tackle box, so one splicing needle. Now these are easiest if you wet them a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit of gob in there. Yeah, it just makes it all slide through that much easier. So I popped it onto my splicing needle, hook it onto there, close the gate and pull it on. Right, drop them. Now the reason I like this stuff is, like a putty, it's quite heavy stuff, yeah, but it's not really a putty. If you look in there, it's very it breaks up an awful lot. There's a good bit there actually, saved me going into the big bit. That's lasted me 15 years as well, that little pot. But basically, if you get it between your fingers and warm it up a little bit, yeah, it becomes quite granular. Yeah, and when you rub it onto your hook link, yeah, you'll see little bits of it sticking to it. You'll also see it sticking to your finger. Yeah. All you're doing is all the fibres in your hook link are now being, all the little gaps in between the fibres are being covered with like a tungsten putty, but it's almost in a powder form. Yeah. So what I've actually done there is impregnated the whole hook link with that. That's in amongst all the fibres. So where you'd normally have a bit of putty that might drop off to sink your hook link, a couple of little blobs or whatever, this is actually in the fibres, so it works really well in that way. I've never tried the cherry one doing this because I've still got to get through this. So once I get through this, which will probably, I don't know, a year and a bit, it looks like about a year and a bit's worth there. Once I get through that, I'll give the cherry one a go. Just never tried it for that. So that's there, ready to be cast out basically. Put a bait on it. As I say, 15mm bait, it will leave a lovely little gap there between that and my hook. And that's ready to clip onto any rig, any lead, and just be cast out. Nothing fancy there. That's my go-to bottom bait rig. As I say, I'm not too fussed. I've never come across a riggy carp. I doubt I ever will. So that's my number one rig. There you go. Hope that helps you guys. Let's get on to number 2 rig. Okay, now for the second rig. This is a bit of a different one really. It's best way to describe it, a long D combi rig. Okay, that's as close as I can get to it, I'm afraid. This is one of my favourite all-time rigs for fishing pop-ups. Basically all I've taken is a long length of crystal, which always coils up right up until you actually fix it properly, set it up right. I'm going to pull through about 5 inches at the back end just for ease of working, and rip a basic knotless knot up the shank. Now I go up quite high with this. Like so. That's 12 turns I've gone up there, and I then pass that back through the eye as you would a normal knotless knot. Trying desperately not to ping off the loops here, because they can come off the top and the bottom. that's roughly the starting point. And at this point is where I'll decide how high I want my pop-up to sit. So I'll be judging roughly the length I want it off the bottom. Okay, so that's probably about where I want it. So now I'll put a fold in that, a little kink down here, like so, and just trim off about 2 centimeters above that, just leaving a nice tag there, so I've got plenty of space to work with. Now this is where it starts getting interesting. Once again, I haven't sorted out the correct stuff for the job, so bear with me. I'll hum a song or something while I sort out what is going on. Okay, here we go. One bait screw on the top end. That bait screw drops all the way down. I then work out the same length, roughly. Not forgetting I want a little bit of a loop going up on the top there. So if I were to do that about there, that's going to give me the same position where I want it. Put another fold in that one and then trim it off again to the same length as the first one. Okay, it's all pretty basic stuff really, making it up as I go along if I'm honest, but then again that's how rigs should be. There's a big reason I don't spend a lot of time at home tying rigs is because at the end of the day I know I'll get to the lake and I think, no, but that's not suitable for that situation. There's something different. It's slightly deeper weed or slightly deeper silt than I want to be fishing over with that rig, so I'll need to change everything. If I need to change everything, then I might as well have just started from the start and not bothered at all about it, i.e. stand at the side of the lake and decide then what rig I need to tie up. It's a far more effective method really. Right, now my deck drop. Be great if I could get hold of it. And I'm putting it through the loop. Okay, where I've folded those two over, I've just put it through the gap in between them two. Okay, so that's my starting point. I now go up 5. What's gone on here? Don't know. Up 5. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. Let's go an extra one. Down 3. 1. 2. 3. Now I've got to go just back through that loop again. Be great if I could see it, if I'm honest. So you don't get all this with Stuart's rig tying, do you? He doesn't show you how fiddly and stupid each rig is. Yeah, he seems to have the knack. It's something I've never really had. It takes me a lot of effort. Possibly a reason why I don't bother with techie rigs anymore. Who knows? Now I want my puller on there. Ease it down. Nice and tight. Feels like it's right. So let's have a look. Just pull up that little section there. Got a nice little curve in here. And that'll sit pretty much like that. Once it's finished anyways. Right, trim off these tag ends. Get out my putty. Now I would obviously normally have a pop-up attached to this so I can judge the amount of putty being put on, but I'm not too worried about putting a bit too much on now and then removing it later. One of the things I will do when I'm fishing this rig is overweight this part. Yeah, I prefer to have too much weight underneath the boilie than not enough weight. One of the things that makes this rig so successful is the fact that it, like a chod rig, will reset itself. If it's been mouthed, it will reset itself, and part of that is the heavy weight here and the buoyant bait, because it will just always, even if it gets down to this stage, let's say, where the bait's right down the bottom next to the weight, the buoyancy of it will pick it up and make it pop up again. Okay, so it'll always do that, just pick itself up again. And the idea behind the long D is basically the fish sucks the bait in, goes to blow the bait out, and the bait's all the way down here and pulling the hook in rather than trying to pull it out. One of the problems I have with modern rigs is the fact that they're attached up here, and if you pull a rig from there, you see what happens. Now, I'm putting that right against my finger and pulling it, and all it's doing is scratching. You can see it scratching across my finger, but it's not catching because it's being pulled too much across. Yeah. Now if your hook's being pulled from this point, that's always going to be an issue. Whereas if you can get it to pull from right down here, you're actually pulling from the eye, so it catches every time. Yeah. So long D rig, that's my number 2 rig. This rig again, this part here will again, get my loop tied into it. Figure of 8. Why am I doing everything back to front? Just because I'm on camera. Figure of 8, loop knot. So round we go, give it a twist, pop it back through, Bob's your auntie. Figure of 8 loop knot again. Okay. Get your grabber thingy, not puller, whatever they call it. Get technical with me. It's always worth just grabbing hold of the tag end with your teeth as well. Give it a couple of little sharp tugs and it sets everything in nicely. Okay. Trim off the tag end. Going to want some of that. Going to want one of them. And just roll it between your fingers, get it warmed up. You can feel when it's on the line. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit blobby on its way down or on its way back up. Yeah, it's all weight to the hook link. Okay. And that's for number 2 rig. Bait it up, get it out into the lake. Okay, so that's 2 of my all-time rigs. I don't vary much off of those, to be honest. I might go on to a stiff hinged rig if the situation warrants it, but if it doesn't, I won't panic about just casting that out instead. Covers pretty much a similar situation. It's just got a little bit more versatility in the hooking scenarios. If you look at that, that pop-up's going to be sort of, I don't know, 2.5 inches off the bottom. That's a long pop-up for me. I would prefer, or I would normally go for 1 inch or so, but given that I'm going on to Fen probably on Thursday morning, and I don't know what the bottom's like, I want 1 rig ready at least. I'll probably tie up 2 of these and 2 of those. I'll be fishing with 4 rods, so I'll have 2 of each, and they'll be my starting points. I know that I can get either 2 of these out or 2 of these out, and adjust other rigs as I need to. So I've only really got to tie up 2 rigs when I get to the lake. So yeah, that will be my starting point. If I do want to drop this down a little bit, I'll just tie a completely new rig. That'll go in the bin. Okay, so that's my 2 rigs to start with. Like I say, this isn't really a case of educating anyone. If it has educated someone, great. It's simply a case of showing that you don't need to be ridiculously riggy to fish stupidly hard waters. Neither me nor Ian are particularly riggy. Ian's definitely more riggy than me. Like I say, or I've said before, that's as much to do with the era we grew up in as anything. So don't take being riggy as the be all and end all. Just sort of fish that in the right spot, or those in the right spot, are going to be 10 times better than the most super duper hyper mega rig in the wrong spot. I fish this sort of rig simply because I know for a fact they'll catch me carp. They'll catch me carp when other rigs don't. So I'll fish them all the time if needs be, and I won't worry, I won't bat an eyelid about doing so. So I hope that's been a help to you. In the next one, I'm going to change some line in the next video. I've got to change my line. I've got to go through all my kit, make sure I've sort of got a tent still, make sure the mice haven't eaten it, and it's more about getting ready, and basically the most stupid shit that I can carry with me. So yeah, that's coming up. Hope you're ready for it, because I'm not. So see you soon. Hope that was helpful to you. See you later, guys.